right, good evening. Good evening. Sorry, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm still, hungover from last night. But thank you for joining us today on stage. We are here for the great consensus debate, and with me on stage are really some very heavyweight names from the industry. We have on my right Herbert, who's have been traveling around the world talking about Bitcoin for a very long time, long experiences in various different exchanges, and is here to give his point of view about the consensus algorithm as well. Ellie himself from Vancouver, flying around the world giving talks, advisor for ICO and STO. So he knows a lot about the various business aspects of the blockchain. He's here to share your point of view as well. Stefano, who's also been an advisor for various 40 over ICO projects. But I've seen lately when I've spoken to him, he has become very cynical about the ICO industry and blockchain in general. It'd be very interesting to see from his point of view how he looks at consensus as well. And you have heard of our keynote speaker who started talking early this morning, Roger Ver from Bitcoin Cash. He himself is well-known in the industry for 8 over years and the name behind Bitcoin Cash ABC. So today we're going to have the next half an hour to talk about consensus. So what is consensus? For those of you who are here and wondering how things work behind the scenes, there's things like proof of work, proof of stake, DPoS, and a few like many other different versions of consensus. So first question I have for you guys is, why do we need so many different consensus model? Anyone can take the mic first.
I think that's the beauty of the free market is everybody tries a bunch of different ways and people find out what works the best. So we have, Ford and Toyota and Honda and Chevy and Coca-Cola versus Pepsi versus root beer versus Dr. Pepper. And people get to figure out which ones works right for them. And there's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all solution for a consensus mechanism at all. So I think it would be naive to think that there's a one-size solution for everybody, every time, every place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's all about finding different ways to achieve security. And there's so many different methods right now. I think we've seen well over a dozen that are actually implemented right now. But of course, you're also seeing a lot of drawbacks, and it's about finding what is that optimization between ideally the positives and negatives on a consensus mechanism, and then figure out how that can work and where you can minimize some of the faults around it.
So being in the industry for quite some time now, so what we actually see is, of course, the whole entire industry stemmed from Bitcoin itself, started off as proof of work. And of course, over the years, the technology continues to develop and we're seeing more entrants of all the consensus algorithm. We're talking about proof of stake, even the most latest one is called proof of time and space. Something very, very interesting that I'm going to be talking more later. Yeah. So I think the industry, as we evolve, we are indeed going to be seeing more and more entrants of new technologies. Yeah.
I think that first of all, it's very difficult for me to hear because the acoustic here on stage is quite noisy. So forgive me if I speak in a funny way. I can't hear my voice. So I say that, why do we need more consensus? I think that the one that Bitcoin was pretty smooth. Interesting events that are happening, in my opinion, are those consensus mechanisms that are staying out from the definition of blocks. So anything that is Byzantine or anything that works with, like Tangle, for example, and doesn't have to carry the entire bandwagon of all the transaction in order to validate the last block.
Well, I think the next question I have would be mainly, first of all, for Roger to handle this. There has been a lot of talk in the internet about proof of work being proof of waste. Like to mine a Bitcoin, it takes so much energy that, quite frankly, the amount of money you take to mine one Bitcoin is almost like the amount of money people lose to scams out there. So if proof of work is such wasteful way of doing consensus, why are we still seeing proof of work? And why is Bitcoin Cash still using proof of work? If there are any other options to take?
I think the fact that nobody's forcing anybody to mine Bitcoin or forcing anybody to mine anything with a proof of work system shows that it's not wasteful, because people that are mining that cryptocurrency, they could take that money that they're using to pay for the electricity and use it to buy something else if they value that something else more. And prices in the market signal what resources should be devoted to producing what goods. And the fact that people voluntarily are choosing to mine cryptocurrency shows that that's an efficient use of resources. And if people figure out how to do something even more efficient, that's great. We all get to benefit from it. But the fact that people are choosing to do that voluntarily with their own money and their own time shows that it's a good use of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things is it's part of our economic model, right? And so right now, if you were to mine and you can make a profit, then you'll do it. And sometimes externalities are not fully priced into energy prices. I mean, there's certain countries where you can get cheaper energy, say below 3 cents a kilowatt hour, or certain countries is actually even free. And so you've got certain problems with not pricing in externalities, which is part of the problem. But right now, I mean, proof of work is at the end of the day the most proven system to be able to secure a network that big, right? And so proof of stake is, picking up, but it's still early days, I would say, on any sorts of other solutions. I mean, we have delegated proof of stake, which is like what EOS uses, and there's clearly problems with that, and we can go into that a bit later. But the other part that I think people don't actually account for is when you talk about proof of work, you actually also, if you look at the traditional financial system, I mean, think about every single bank and financial institution that has their lights on, that has a building. You've got trucks that move money like Brinks and things like that. That's all part of securing this financial network related to traditional fiat. And so if you were to factor in all of those costs and all of that, you could call waste. In reality, it's probably not waste. But to secure a network, there is costs in the traditional world to secure fiat currency as well that you need to take into account.
I think the whole debate about whether proof of work consumes too much power started when 2 years ago they started distributing these nonsensical, absurd reports that Bitcoin mining would have consumed more than the entire Earth by February 2020, which is less than 1 year from now. It obviously doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because they were counting, the fallacy of the argument was that they were counting that growth in a linear way or exponential way, assuming that everyone will always mine with the same equipment at the same cost of production, with the same yield for production for energy. But obviously, there are places like in Russia where they obviously use the mining devices to generate heat, which is great. Instead of burning coal or whatever they are burning, they are using a mining device. They also teaching to Russian miners how to use the heat produced during the summer, where to position the machines outdoor, how to heat up your jacuzzi with your miners. There are many ways that you can use it. It's not that mining is bad. Mining is, as you say, those that do it voluntarily are not stupid. They are doing it because they want to do something. The bottom line is, if you want to make a consensus mechanism, there are only 3 parameters. Number 1, energy consumption or cost of it. Number 2 is security. And number 3 is efficiency or speed of execution. So if you can only have 2 of them. You can't have 3 of them. So in this case, yes, it's expensive, but they come up with a new mining device that consumes less, and there are many uses that you can do of the energy that is in excess.
Okay, so just to reiterate what Roger said, I mean, he was sharing that it's the voluntary action of the people that wants to mine, right? But now the thing is, right now with the statistics, it's shown that Bitcoin itself, the amount of energy used to mine Bitcoin is a few number of countries combined, right? That is a lot, and it's proven statistics, not even based on the future, linear, whatever. So now the thing is, knowing that this is very harmful for the Earth, it's very irresponsible
how
to
is
say
it harmful? How is it harmful?
by consuming
energy, how is it harmful?
So are you saying that consuming tons of energy is being green?
Why not?
Yeah. Okay. So now the thing is,
How is it damaging it? Like, there is more forestation now than 100 years ago. How is it? How our life have changed over the past 2 years because there is Bitcoin mining? Show me one proof that Bitcoin mining is making the planet a worse place. There is no such a thing. It's just for something for CCN or whatever other Bitcoin inclined news outlet to talk about, but there is absolutely no evidence of what. And by the way, take one country that consume energy for what? Anything else? Sending out cars, lighting up buildings, fountains, show. the consumption of energy exists, and Bitcoin has not done anything at all to make the world worse for the consumption.
But Herbert has a different idea, right? You have a different point of view for that.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for that. In fact, all the green activists would be, very against what you just said. Of course, you're going to get a lot of, media coverage after this event for saying things like that.
I'm not doing it
So,
for that. If
but
a
the
green
thing now
activist
is
show
what you're
me
saying-
how the
yeah.
world have done it negatively, I'll be very happy to see.
Okay,
it.
so now talking about back to energy consumption of Bitcoin itself, that can take up comparison to that of few countries. So it's in comparison, it's like saying like, drugs is available, for all. It's up to you whether you want to take it or not, right? So
Well, it's a bit far-fetched, but carry on.
yeah. Okay. So anyhow, back to the topic. So as much as Bitcoin is using a lot of energy, yeah, Bitcoin Cash itself has like recently there was a report that Bitcoin Cash is actually much more like energy saving, up to 43%, right? Yeah, maybe even more. Okay, so the thing now is Bitcoin Cash is not Bitcoin. However, Bitcoin Cash itself is a lot more. It's faster transaction speed. The block size are like bigger. So it's much more convenient to use as a currency. Something that Satoshi actually envisioned in 2008 when he first wrote the paper. Yeah. So based on that, what I want to say is basically Bitcoin Cash does not need to actually run on proof of work. Of course, there are many new algorithms out there that has already been invented. Yeah, so I think it's something that maybe Roger can consider in the near future. In the angle for all the green activists out there. Yeah.
It boils down, sorry, to the same logic. It's like sects. What happened to Satoshi SV last week? It's very obvious. It is and look also how the event is supposed to be the largest event in Singapore. I mean, I was mentioning in Catholic Church in Italy, there are probably more people attending a Sunday morning function than now the crowd that is attending an event, because the topic remains on the fact that people mine because they want to make money. People trade because they want to make money. The only proof that works is proof of greed, that everyone wants to get richer and richer. And despite the fact of the damage that they make to the environment. So it's not me trying to seek attention, media attention. It's just the fact that if someone voluntarily decide to mine, is because they see that that one has a valuable way of making money. They can do it that way, or they can do it with anything else.
If I can add a little bit on the pollution factor. So one of my favorite economists, David Friedman, pointed out that if life is bad with pollution, life is far, far, far worse with no pollution. So if you think back thousands of years ago when man wasn't making any pollution, and think about how long people managed to live and how difficult and hard it was for that life. So the idea is maybe a little bit of pollution is a good thing, because it allows us to have wonderful buildings like this and electricity and microphones and sit on a stage here. So maybe pollution isn't a bad thing. Maybe having some pollution is a really, really good thing for the world, because it enables all this wonderful economic growth that we have.
Yeah, I guess just to jump in here, right? So, I mean, I do actually think that we do need to make this greener. We do need to save costs on energy if we can. And it's all about securing the network. If we do this at a cost which destroys the network, it's not worth it. And I think we're at a point where we're still trying to figure out these other solutions, right? So as an example, you see delegated proof of stake right now on on EOS, right? And then you might have heard of like essentially collusion happening between their block producers, which is essentially like a plutocracy where they're essentially colluding to stay in power, right? This is a problem. Like, this is not really a system that works, in my opinion, and there's clearly collusion aspects that makes the network less secure. And so that is not a solution. And so we need to find a solution that does work. And I think a lot of the proof of stake still hasn't been proven to be able to secure a network as big as some of them that we're talking about, like Bitcoin or even Bitcoin Cash yet.
So for those of you who have just joined us, this is the great consensus debate where we're talking about the various kind of proofs that we have in play right now: proof of work, proof of stake, etc., etc. So just to summarize what you guys have said in the last 10 minutes, I hear some of the key points is, well, pollution is bound to happen. Even if Bitcoin is not around, we have the banks, we have the machines, we have the lights, we have fountains. Money is being spent already today that we don't even complain. And If we talk about zero signature footprint, we don't even have this screen behind us. So it's not possible to have zero waste. But on the other hand, we also hear things like, I just heard something say proof of greed. And along with proof of greed, there's proof of reputation, proof of this, and it's almost like every other week, someone's going to come out with a different proof consensus. So the question that Herbert was pointing out just now was, could there be perhaps something else that we have overlooked instead of just depending on proof of work? Is there proof of something else that we could merge with proof of work to give it a better deal? Now, the next question I have for you before we get to that is there any consensus model right now that you personally think is bullshit? Anyone?
Proof of politicians is bullshit.
The concept of the proof of whatever is basically trying to mimicking politics, and the Romans have solved this problem with Byzantine 2,000 years ago. There is nothing much to reinvent. If the only argument to say that proof of work is because of the environment, any French citizen here, they went for nuclear power, and to them is not polluting. They can mine as much as they want. Any German citizen, they tried to go solar and wind, and then they found out that actually cost more than it would have cost if they went for a nuclear policy. Politics is the one that defines, and the cryptocurrencies is like many parties. The proof of whatever is like many parties trying to change a system that, if you want to apply the Byzantine system, is already working. It's fine. There is no need to elaborate more. So pretty much every proof of whatever is a proof of BS, or proof of just try to talk about it to see if you can do something that is already fixed and is already working. And the whole purpose is to avoid someone to take advantage of the system. It's the same logic in politics. They say democracy is a great system. Well, guess what? You can overthrow democracy. And 51% democracy is virtually impossible. Or very few countries in the world are managed to achieve that. Dictatorship, which is centralized system, can be overthrown by a code overnight. So no system doesn't work. Higher chances are Byzantine, 66%. That's a good system, in my opinion. All the others are not.
Cool. Ellie, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess on this, I think we're still trying to figure it out, right? But I am very much in favor of innovation and looking at systems that are potentially a hybrid between proof of stake and proof of work. I'm pretty excited to see with what Ethereum is doing on Casper. I think it's pretty exciting to watch what they're doing there. And so looking at how this evolves and how we can ensure that we're securing a network in a way potentially it's a hybrid model is probably the most interesting right now for specifically talking about blockchain and cryptocurrency.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. So it's something very exciting in the market right now to actually see a proof of work, Ethereum that's moving to POS. Yeah, they only announced it just late last year in November, December. So when I first heard about that, I was like, oh, wow, that's going to be a huge shift, a huge change with all the way it's going to be run, from miners and even traders alike. Yeah, so I think this Casper is something the industry is looking to watch and learn from there. And possibly even like some old guards, example, BCH might want to, take some notes from Ethereum as well. So the thing is, what I want to say is basically, at this point of time, there is no real bullshit per se. It's just new technology, new ideas of this whole entire blockchain space that's very, very new. Yeah, it's still at its infant stage, I would say, about 10 years old. Yeah, so
in the meantime, 10 years old, the 4 billion smartphones have been sold, and they are pretty new. They are also in the infancy. A technology that is 10 years old is not new. It's mature. And if after 10 years haven't figured out how it's supposed to work, it's too late. Either it doesn't work or something else has to come up. In my opinion, the debate about consensus and the blockchain itself is like talking about the music industry and insisting that vinyl is the only way to play music. Then there will be another evolution. The music cassette, the CD, the DVD, the MP3, the Spotify. This is just one stage, and it is finished, and try to keep it alive, in my opinion. Casper is not trying to develop the music cassette or the CD. It's just trying to revive the
so based
vinyl.
on that, does it work right now? Do you feel it works right now?
Well, it work what? The transactions?
Yeah, like crypto in general.
Look, just now when we were in the backstage, someone sent him $3 worth of. You sent him $3 worth of Bitcoin in
cash.
Sorry,
Very different.
in 1 second.
Yeah.
So doesn't it work?
Yeah. Okay. Based on that, right now, although I'm from Bitcoin industry, I really am pro crypto in general. I'm the bitcoinman.com, that's me. Okay, but the thing now is, that being said, the crypto kids actually do not know how small we are compared to the mainstream boys. Yeah, just talking about Forex first, okay? Forex is about 5 billion, 5 trillion, whereas crypto is only 5 billion. So Forex is 1,000 times bigger. Yeah. Okay, so I'm working for a Brocktagon Group. So basically, we have a Nexus platform itself that actually bridges this whole entire Forex. We are offering them crypto CFD. So what we are doing is actually taking it mainstream, helping crypto to actually go mainstream into the traditional Forex guys. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Even though it works, it's proven, but now the thing is, the world has not really seen Bitcoin yet. They may have heard of it, but how many actually understand and how many people here actually buy it? Yeah. So the thing is, Roger himself, he's a great marketer. One of the first few guys in the industry, I would say, to actually start shilling Bitcoin. In fact, I would say in 2012, there's this website called Satoshi Dice, an online gambling company that actually came into. I Okay. Have you heard about Bitcoin? Like free Bitcoin faucets. Have you? Okay, so basically, these faucets are actually websites that are giving out free Bitcoin. So in the world right now, do you know which is the biggest traffic in terms of crypto and blockchain? Would you? Okay, so many people would guess CoinMarketCap, or maybe CoinDesk, Cointelegraph. Yeah. So what do you think?
I would think like coin market cap would be it.
Yeah.
Bitcoin.com.
Okay, maybe from the audience, anyone? Okay, so the thing now is, one of the very common guesses, of course, it's Bitcoin.com, owned by Roger Ver, or even Blockchain.com, owned by Roger Ver as well. You see, this guy here is a really entrepreneur guy. Okay, but the thing now is, it's all wrong. Yeah, all these websites are 1 out of 100 times. Is only 1 out of 100 of this one single website.
Pornhub.
Yeah. Okay, no, it's a crypto website. So the thing now is, it's called freebitco.in. Yeah. So it's a website just giving out free Bitcoins. Who doesn't want Bitcoin here? If it's free, who doesn't want? Oh, you don't want?
How does
So everybody wants Bitcoin, right? If it's free. So now the thing is, because of that, there's massive amount of traffic coming into the website, and all the mainstreamers are coming in. And one of the first few guys to actually push this, you can actually watch it on YouTube, was actually Roger Ver. Yeah. Okay. But now the thing is, it started off, of course, with a very good intention, to get Bitcoin, mainstream for everyone to see it. But actually, in 2017, what happened was it mutated and got hijacked and spun out of control. So what happened is, advertisement is actually what got Bitcoin up to 20,000 in 2017 December. Yep. You can go on SimilarWeb and check all the traffic that was streaming in from which sites. Yeah, we are talking about even the likes of porn traffic, where they are just giving out free Bitcoins on porn sites and leading into like all the affiliate sites to actually buy Bitcoin, right? So now the thing is, in most recently, Satoshi Dice was actually sold to an anonymous buyer, and then now it only accepts Bitcoin Cash. So yeah.
Well, we kind of steered away from the consensus part
Yeah.
into the other realm of blockchain. Let's get back to consensus debate again before we end off this dialogue. We go back to proof of work again, because I think the biggest debate about proof of work is proof of waste. Now we look at you talk about different models that can come into play. So the Bitcoin man here felt that he's been trying to get Roger Ver to adopt other consensus model. But Roger, I understand that there's something that's Avalanche that you have included into your algorithm that made it a lot better, but still using the proof of work system.
I guess first of all, it's not my choice to make, right? I don't have control over it. So Bitcoin Cash is being used by millions of people around the world. So even if I had a magic wand to wave, it wouldn't work. So, but Avalanche is really interesting. So Avalanche is kind of a pre-consensus mechanism. So right now, on both Bitcoin Core and Bitcoin Cash, the blocks are every 10 minutes. Bitcoin Core has this thing called replace by fee that makes the transactions less reliable. But the really fun thing is if Avalanche, which is up and running live right now on Bitcoin Cash, if that's able to be used across the board for everything, it makes Bitcoin Cash transactions take about a second and a half to be totally good enough to depend on for anything, which is about a 10 times improvement over Ethereum and a couple hundred or 1,000 times improvement over BTC. So this is a really big deal. Imagine all your transactions on Bitcoin Cash being as good as done after a second and a half. And they're basically pretty darn good right now. They can be even better. So Avalanche is what that consensus mechanism is called, but it's everybody all together deciding what to use. There's no one single director organizing everything.
Is there before we end off on this one, is there one particular consensus model among the rest of them that if you have to pick one, which would you pick?
The market.
Proof of market.
Okay, so just now I mentioned briefly at the start, it's proof of time and space. It's something, proof of space or proof of capacity. It's something not new already in the market. We have the likes of like Dash, Neo, Stratus that are actually using it. But the thing now is, how many of you understand what is proof of time? Will the panel want to share more? Have you heard of it? Okay, so basically, if you know, proof of space is basically anybody with a hard drive can actually be, part of the reward, the farming the rewards. Yeah. So proof of time itself, it's basically between every block. Example, Bitcoin. Sometimes you will see 5 to 6 minutes, and the next moment it might be a half an hour. Between each transaction block, right? But the average is about 10 minutes. So, like, say, Ethereum, it's about 15 seconds. Yeah. So with this proof of time, it actually makes everybody accountable for the transaction time to keep it consistent all throughout this whole entire transaction time. So now the thing is, this proof of time and space is something conceptualized by the inventor of BitTorrent, Bram Cohen. It's something very interesting because the irony is, BitTorrent or torrenting itself is actually one of the most successful decentralized technologies out there. Yeah, so it's something that you guys should go take a look. Yeah, so the project is actually called Chia. Yeah, CHIA. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Ellie.
Absolutely. So, I mean, as of now, I would still say it's proof of work, but we're very much bullish on what Ethereum is doing with moving over on Casper and helping to actually, I would say, give back more power and take away power from some of the miners and actually distribute it. So we're pretty optimistic on how that plays out, but it's, I think, a very difficult task on what they're doing, especially from a kind of a human psychology and greed perspective of miners. So it'll be interesting.
I might sound like a dinosaur, but in my opinion, the game is rigged. And what Eric said just now, Binance is the most influential outlet in the industry entirely. They decide that the guy is supposed that Bitcoin SV has to be trashed, delisted. They have the power. One website, one exchange has the power of killing a cryptocurrency, no matter with what they come up with. The power is still very centralized. He owns the domain that is centralized. Everyone's got something that is centralized. It's a very centralized industry. And in my opinion, the centralized industry that works best is banking. Because banking, just now you sent him $3 if you got the wrong QR code, or if in any way you wanted to reverse a transaction, a bank will allow you to do that. And cryptocurrency doesn't. Bank, when they clone your card, they give you your money back. There are so many other systems in place in traditional banking. But when it comes to really, if you want to see a consensus model to work with, as I said before, the Romans sorted it out 2,000 years ago, is the Byzantine system.
Okay, actually, before we end off, I just want to say something because one of the panelists here on the stage has a lot of power and influence on this industry, owning two main websites, Bitcoin and blockchain.com. Yeah, the thing now is a lot of mainstreamers. Okay, I'm from the side that I want Bitcoin to be heard across the globe. I want cryptocurrencies to be adopted and used mainstream. But now I feel one of the hindrance for the industry right now is the confusion that's out there. When they come to Bitcoin.com or they come to blockchain.com, they want to be reading about Bitcoin itself, not Bitcoin Core that Bitcoin Cash conveniently say it's Bitcoin Core. But the thing is, it's Bitcoin. And it should not be confused. The thing is, Bitcoin Cash itself is a very, very good crypto by itself. It's so much faster than Bitcoin, and it brings up the transaction speed and everything. So by itself, it should be a very, very strong without needing to use the Bitcoin name itself. That's from a personal point of view.
The evolution was that Bitcoin was invented at a point where it was the dark web that was using Bitcoin. For Bitcoin, you can buy drugs, you can buy hitmen, you can buy all sorts of crimes and hacking. That was the purpose of Bitcoin at the beginning.
But
then it became the currency of the pure people that only use it to save the planet. And to me, this is just pure politics.
No,
It's got nothing to do with the
this
system.
particular topic is I can sit here for next 2 hours and talk about this for another debate session, but we are running out of time, so we got to stick to consensus model here. But I'll be happy to have coffee with you guys and talk about that later on. But let's end off the last speaker with any particular model you will want to take. Any report that you had. You've been sitting there and we had this debate going on. You've been with a straight face, even when he said like Bitcoin Cash SV got delisted, poker face, man, nothing moved on your face. So last word in. What do you have to say?
I think the best consensus mechanism mankind has ever, I don't even think invented is the right word. The best consensus mechanism that's ever spontaneously come into existence is the market, where millions or billions of people around the world cooperate with each other without ever having met these other people or knowing anything about them or their lives. They come together to produce things that everybody values around the world. So the market is the best consensus mechanism ever to have existed in all of humankind.
Right. Thank you.
And it's very easy for you to say, sitting here, because you are the BBC of the industry. So you can influence that market by writing something today if you want. So it's a very comfortable position. I understand where you're coming from, but it's a bit strange that comes from you, something like this.
So I think I'm applying it not just to cryptocurrencies, but to everything, everywhere. So car production, clothing production, food production, housing production. The market is the most efficient consensus mechanism ever to have existed to figure out how to do all of these things, not just cryptocurrency. The market is, and it's thanks to the market that cryptocurrencies exist as well. So it's just amazing on every level.
And I'm going to jump in. I think it's a little unfair to say that, Roger can just, swing a wand and the whole market changes. I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, this market is now beyond, I think, any one person. And, there's literally millions of people using all sorts of different types of cryptocurrency around the world. And so I would just also try to prevent some of this like misinformation that's very prominent in our industry.
Because he's a honest guy. If the domain bitcoin.com was in the hands of someone else that was easy to corrupt, then you're back to square one. It doesn't promote decentralization, it doesn't promote distribution, it doesn't promote...
Okay, like I mentioned earlier about the whole entire Bitcoin traffic, one thing that everybody needs to know here is basically all the Bitcoin traffic right now is actually stemming out from gambling websites. Over 50%. Okay, I have my statistics. I can share more later. We are even talking about the likes of, EOS. It's over 75%. And for Tron, it's up to 90%, all from gambling. Yeah. That also includes, of course, Bitcoin Cash. I'm very sure you know about that. So the thing is, the big network out there, it's actually people using it for gambling. Yeah. The thing now is there's nothing to be ashamed of because, casino owners are actually revered. Yeah. We are talking about the likes of Marina Bay Sands. Yeah. It is a casino and everybody are streaming in. It's a Vegas casino. Yeah, so there's nothing to be ashamed of that, Bitcoin or any crypto is being used for gambling.
Well, I wish we had more time because this is really hitting up. And this is the kind of stuff I like and I have on my channel on Rock the Block Live. In fact, you know what? I'm going to get each and every one of you. I'm going to spend some time to talk about the stuff you want to talk about off stage. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, could you please put your hands together to help me thank all my panelists, Roger, Stefano, Ali, Herbert, myself, Eugene. If any questions, it's got to be going down, so mock them, take photos with them, ask them all the questions you want. And thank you, you've been a wonderful audience. Give yourself a big round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very much.